This message was deep in my spirit, y'all. So when I first moved to Houston, January of 2024, I remember probably was a few months after I had been there. I met this lady and I was having a conversation with her, and I remember telling her, I was like, I said, God, the Most High Divine is in a place, is in a position where the Most High is shifting things from a place to where everything is no longer going to be just black and white anymore. 33 on the clock as I'm saying that. Everything is no longer going to be just black and white, right? We've been living in a world, and I don't mean that just racially, right? I mean it racially, politically, I mean it geographically, I mean it financially, mentally, emotionally. Everything has been placed into these specific rules or structures, laws, or guidelines that make everything so black and white. And when you have certain people who step outside of those guidelines of black and white, people like Michael Jackson, people like Prince, people that didn't fall in alignment with the things that they want on the clock, the things that they thought should have been done or the way they thought they should have happened. The Most High is shifting things to where it is no longer 123 on the clock, baby. It is no longer going to be just black and white anymore. If you are a person who is not making the shifts, the adjustments, the changes internally and externally, 141 on the clock, baby. If you are not making the shifts, if you are not making the changes, if you are not making the adjustments, then the adjustments will be made on your behalf, right? Or you are just ultimately going to be left behind. The world is no longer meant to be just lived in just black and white. It was not ever intended to be lived that way. It was not ever intended to be lived that way, where it was just going to be black and white. It's meant to have color and pizzazz and sparkle and be bright and vibrant. 222 on the clock. It's meant to be beautiful in every shade, shape, form, and fashion of what beauty is. No longer going to just be black and white. Things are now shifting into a place, peace and love, beautiful beings. Things are now shifting into a place where sometimes it's going to be black, sometimes it's going to be white, sometimes it's going to be green, sometimes it's going to be gray, sometimes it's going to be orange, sometimes it's going to be purple. Do you dig what I'm saying? It's not always just going to be black and white. When they put us in these different school systems, that forced us to think from a black and white standpoint. When they surrounded us with all these different religions, that put us into a black and white mindset. When they surrounded us around all these different politics and antics, and are you independent, are you the Republican, are you Democratic, all those different things that put us in a black or white. You got to choose either this or that, right? Which automatically limited us in the freedom of our own free will, the freedom of our ability to choose who we are and what we are. The Most High is shifting life to where it's not just going to be black and white anymore. Things are going to have color and pizzazz, and it's not just going to be what we are used to, or I'll say conditioned in. Trying to survive this rain, honestly. It's raining where I'm at. Trying to survive the rain. But yeah, I really just wanted to get on here and share that message, y'all. Things are shifting in a way where it's no longer going to be just black and white anymore. Okay? Peace and love. Things are no longer going to just be black and white anymore. And we have to be prepared for that reality to shift. Because you're either going to I'm seeing somebody getting dragged. Like, you either going to get dragged, you're going to get left behind, or you're going to choose to go on with the go up or move forward. I can't even get my words out. 444 was just on the clock. You're either going to go forward, you're going to get dragged along, or you're going to get left behind. Really and truly, that's all it is. Right? No more just black and white. There's still going to be black and white things, right? but it's no longer. I was just watching an episode of the TV show Equalizer with Queen Latifah on it, right? And her man in the show, he's a detective, Detective Dante, and he's a detective, a police officer, right? But he doesn't always play by the rules. He don't always look at things from black and white. He has accepted the reality that sometimes you got to step outside of the rules or the laws in order to exact justice for the people who were wronged in whatever the situation was. Because a lot of the rules that have been put in place, whether it's in the police system, the school system, or home, wherever, a lot of those rules and things like that were put into place with a lack of freedom mindset, an enslaved mindset, way of formulating people's movements. So in the show, he ends up he got he left and went to another job, and then he ends up deciding to leave there because it wasn't working out with him and his boys and all of that, and so he decided to stay in New York, and he needed to get his old job back. And so him and the captain end up having a conversation, and she was explaining to him how she didn't like how he doesn't work inside the lines. Baby, it's going to be people around y'all where you're going to notice how they're going to be mad, they're going to be frustrated, they're going to be irritated because you just don't color in the lines. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't color in between the lines. You have your black moments, you have your white moments, right? You have your black and white moments, but then you also have those moments where you know you got to go in the in-between. You got to skate into the gray moments, those gray areas, and that's okay. Don't you let nobody convince you or tell you that you need to do otherwise. I had a conversation. The Most High been told me years ago, don't you go get no job. Jobs are not for you. I didn't listen originally. This was like 10 years ago. I didn't listen originally because I'm like, I need money. I got to be able to pay for a roof over my head and yada woo, right? And God been told me, like, stop going to get jobs, right? And over the past, like, 2 years, I finally accepted, 2-3 years now, like, God's like, don't go get no job. Stop trying to get a job. Stop thinking about getting a job. That's not for you. Those jobs are not for you. And whoever on this screen, I'm talking to you too. Them jobs is not for you. There's a difference between having a job and doing the work. I do the work every day. What does doing the work look like? Doing the work looks like showing up for your community, creating a village, creating a community, and showing up for that community. What does doing the work look like? Doing the work looks like breaking generational trauma and curses, starting with myself. And then breaking that shit off my family bloodline. That's what doing the work looks like. That's what doing the work looks like. Doing the work don't mean getting up, clocking into a 9-to-5 every day that you're miserable at, that you can't stand getting up and going to that job because it's not serving your highest and best good. Your spirit is literally being drained every time. Getting a job is the thing that you do when you're putting your own dreams on hold. Everybody has a divine mission, divine purpose here in this realm. Peace and love, beautiful. I'm good. I'm out here trying to survive this rain. I wanted to get this message to y'all, though, because somebody needs to hear this message. But the Most High been told me to stop getting jobs, and originally I didn't listen. But the past few years, I've listened. And things get hard. And it's been uncomfortable because I've been unhoused most of that time. For the last however many years. I have. And it bothers people. It bothers people, but at the end of the day, the reality is it is what it is. And I had a conversation with someone today, and he was trying to almost like force me to get a job. And I was like, no. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's sad that we have been conditioned. You know, I don't really take it, too personal or anything anymore. I just recognize it for what it is at this point. Like, but it's sad that we have literally been conditioned to think that the only way to thrive in the world is by getting a job. And in the process of us trying to thrive or trying to make it in this world, we always end up so miserable that we don't even want to get up and go to that job that's supposed to help sustain us into our thriving, right? But I share that message to say, follow your spirit and where it leads you. My spirit ain't telling me to get no job. Things are hard right now. for everybody. Things are hard for people with jobs. Things are hard for people with jobs, with support, with encouragement, with love all around them. Peace and love. Things are hard for people right now, regardless of where you at or what you got going on. But the reality is no more black and white. The world is no longer operating in a black and white reality, a black and white world, a black and white space, a black and white anything. Right? It's not just going to be black and white anymore. We're about to start drawing outside of the lines, coloring outside of the lines, baby. And we're going to be doing it on purpose, authentically. Because a lot of people are awakening to the reality that there is no line in the first place. There was never a line to color or draw inside of. Not really, it wasn't. They put invisible lines there because they wanted us to think that there were lines. Because 11:11 on the clock. They wanted us to think that there were lines that we couldn't cross, because if we went outside those lines, we would see the truth. That there was no true, what is the word I'm looking for, Holy Spirit? There was no true black poverty. That's something they created for us to live in. And it ain't funny, but man, when you think about it, it's hilarious, right? But they created this thing for us to live in, and then they forced us to draw and color in between the lines. And we like, okay, I got to make sure I get it perfect. Why do you think in kindergarten and pre-K, one of the first things they're teaching you how to do is to color? That's one of the first things they're going to give you is a crayon. And they're going to teach you how to color in between the lines and write in between the lines. Because they want us to be in this black and white mentality, this black and white. But now the Most High is letting us know 12/12. Somebody is born in December, birthday is on the 12th day of the month or something like that. This is the time where the Most High is about to show up and show out. And congratulations to whoever is watching this message too, because you are a person where even when things got hard, you didn't quit, you didn't give up, and it was hard and it was difficult and it was uncomfortable, but you didn't quit, you didn't give up, you didn't give in. We all have those thoughts or those moments of like, man, I'm just gonna go get a job for a little while so I can, kind of stack my money up and figure XYZ out, and you didn't do it. Every single time you were getting ready to quit or give in or make different arrangements, the Most High showed up and said, here you go. You ain't gotta go get that job. You ain't gotta go be miserable for 6 months. Just to make do, just to be able to feed your family. Here you go. I always got you. And I'm going to say this last thing before I get off of here. Every time I leave a place, when it's time for me to get ready to leave a place, it's a pattern, right? Every time it's time for me to leave a place, I start receiving all of these gifts, offers, opportunities, right? I could have been in that place for months, for weeks, for years, and I didn't receive any of those accolades, rewards, acknowledgments, none of the above. But the minute it's time for me to move on, the minute it's time for me to move forward, the minute it's time for me to go on, because the person or the place or the people, the thing wasn't respecting or valuing my time, my energy, my essence, suddenly everybody wants to show up and be in this fake supportive energy. That, my dear, is a clear indication that you have passed the test. When you move on from things that are not serving your highest and best good. When you move on from those things that are not serving your highest and best good. When you move on from those things that are not serving your highest and best good. And people suddenly start trying to offer you stuff. A place to stay, a car to drive, or a ride to work, or a raise in that job, or a better position at the job. When they're suddenly trying to offer you these things out of the blue, it's because they've known your worth and your value all along, baby. And they simply chose to dismiss it. They simply chose to keep you in that small-sighted view They wanted you to see things from either black or white. They didn't want you to see all the beautiful colors that exist within you in the in-between, baby. Yee! Come here, somebody that's a message. It was a lot of things that existed in you in the in-between that they did not want you to learn about yourself, recognize about yourself, value about yourself, appreciate about yourself. They want you to do none of that as it related to you. When it's time for you to move on, when it's time for you to move forward, when it's time for you to pick up and go, when it's time for you to pick up and leave, trust that you made the right decision, because there's going to be what they call glitches in the matrix. And when there's those glitches in the matrix, don't you start second guessing and doubting and questioning yourself just because things haven't started to physically look like what you know they look like. That's the message, beautiful beings. It's time for us to color, write, and draw outside of the lines, because there was never any lines in the first place. Peace and love, beings.